Morning, guys. Good morning, Zypher. How you doing? Hope you're all doing well, guys. Hope you all had a good Tuesday yesterday. Sorry, I wasn't so active towards the afternoon. I did have to get a couple things sorted out, but today will be a lot more focused up. How's it, Stanley? How you doing? Balas, how you doing? I do hope I am saying that right, by the way. If not, please do correct me. KJ, how you doing? Morning, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. How's it, Alessandro? I think, guys, what we're going to do before we even do the chart breakdowns is go through some of the charts that are in the Telegram group, and then we can see what you guys are thinking before I even mark it out, and then we can see how you guys are basically looking at the charts as opposed to me. Should be quite similar based on yesterday's charts. Yesterday we had some really nice good charts, so I do think that I have very high expectations. How's it, Justin? Great, thanks to yourself. So let's pull up a few charts, guys. If you're on the Telegram, please also don't be shy to send some charts. I already got 2 here. So first one, let's get across to this side. Just need to, okay. So we got a GJ chart here. How's it, Antonio? How are you? We got GJ on the 1 hour. We have risky buys above 155.60. So obviously we want to see a candle closure above that level. That will now result in a break of the current resistance level on the 30-minute time frame, which is now formed at that point. Or is it on the 15-minute? I'll go through that just now. Then obviously we can probably come up to this level of support and then maybe even turn that into resistance. We just got to obviously look at market structure. We do need to be aware that now that the 30-minute is bearish in market structure, so is the weekly. Obviously the weekly is quite strong bearish. The 4-hour, however, is still bullish. We have maintained 4-hour bullish market structure, and the daily is still bullish. So we have a 2v2 at the moment. How's it, Luke? How are you doing? So buys and sells both have a very good chance of playing out. Just need to be a bit cautious about how we decide to enter. This is when the strong candle confirmations, as well as taking into consideration the current daily candle, comes into play a lot. These potential sells below this 152 level I was also looking at. I actually have under 155. If we look left here on the 30-minute, you can see here 155.313. We will be able to find some very nice clean sells. So I do like this chart. 152.32 is more or less, I think, yeah, the same area. So you just haven't marked it as safely. You've probably marked it a bit further up, which is fine. So very nice chart there. Thanks for that. If you have a gold chart as well, Belas, please do send that through. And let me see who else we got here. We got a chart from Alessandro. Potential buys above 156.280. I also have that marked in this on the 30-minute. So you got the buys above this level. This will also be your structural flip level, guys. Your structural flip will actually come above this 156.052 level. So you could get the earlier buys of this our low. This is the point which created the low. We also got clean candles to the left. So obviously you also have to take into consideration we need to get all the way up there. So you could maybe scale into some of these earlier on. What you need to see is obviously those candle confirmations. This is where looking at the 30 minutes and the 1 hour to get back up to this point over here come in quite handy. So look at the low time frames for those sort of entries. High time frames will also help us identify if we're going to be able to get back up to this level or not. Nicholas, how are you doing? Other than that, you say here we have a 3v1 bearish structure, so I'm looking for a sell above 156. We would have a change in literally low range, the next resistance on left, so too risky for this reason above that resistance. Yeah, so the range obviously is only 17 pips. So it's not a huge amount of range, because obviously if you're going to wait for that candle close above that level, then you're going to have maybe some sort of, you know, range eaten out, so that you're only going to have about 10 maybe 10 pips left, and then it's not going to be the most amount of range. But it is, for someone who's willing to take the riskier entries, certainly is not a bad idea to take a buy above that area. But I do understand what you're saying. Potential sell below 155.320, considering wick is below. Yeah, so you just got to take into consideration that wick. I also think this 155.212 level is pretty important. That's all the way down here if you take into consideration the wick. Tired in maths right now. Focus on maths, not trading. So very nice charts as well. Makes a lot of sense. You do have the 3v1 bearish market structure, which I do think maybe the only one that you think which is currently bearish, which is actually still bullish, maybe the 4 hour. The reason for that is obviously we now need to look at, okay, where's our high and where's our low. So our high is, let me take this off. This is our high. This was our high which we created. So this was our low. 2 candle pullback. We got the candle close above that area. So this becomes our high. Now we're only going to be bearish once we get a candle close below this area. You can see I've marked the bottom of that candle with a horizontal line. And you can see we haven't quite got the 4 hour candle close below that level. So we have maintained bullish market structure, but we are not overall bullish in market structure. So once we close below 155.461, then we are going to be bearish in market structure. So then we'll have the 3v1. But at the moment, that is still maintaining a bullish market structure. Once we get a 4 hour candle close below this level, which obviously is going to play into the bigger picture as well. Guys can see now on the weekly time frame. Let me just take away these drawings. We have now broken the previous weekly low. It's exactly what I was looking for. I'm quite interested in taking some long-term sells at this point. I just want to see us come down a little bit more, and then I'll be most probably executing, lowering my risk, of course, taking low lot size, but I do want to see most of this corrected. Obviously, we got to worry about this wick, and on the daily time frame, we are on a support level right now. So we need to be careful of that. That could be why we're rejecting this area, but if we get below the support level, there's no real reason why we shouldn't carry on. So something to take into consideration there. Otherwise, yeah, very nice chart as well. We've got a chart from Stanley as well, so let me check that out. We've got a couple. Oh no, it's just one. We have gold. Okay, yeah. I was actually looking at this. Yeah, I also have this. So we're currently consolidating on gold, because you can see we're stuck in this 30-minute. It's also a range on the 1 hour. We have the clean candles above 1815.5. Very nice. Nice range to trade into. That's about a 40 pip range. So a lot of range to trade into there, maybe even 45 pip range. Then nice selling range as well. I would, instead of marking the bottom of this bearish wick, I would mark the bottom of the support, which would then be the bullish candle. So I'd mark the bottom of the bullish candle as your final TP area, or where you think we can get down to, because technically that is your support level. So maybe just shift this up a little bit. Otherwise, you know, the actual support zone and the resistance zone are pretty spot on. So I do like that. You also have a bullish on the weekly, so I actually haven't looked at the market structure. So we're bullish on the weekly, you got that right. We are bullish on the daily, you got that right. 4 hour, let me just quickly check. This is going to be our high over here. This is our low, which created it. So we're actually only going to be bearish below this point. So you do have us bearish on the 4 hour. However, we don't have a 2 candle pullback before this area. And remember, this is our high. So these are pauses. So if you've taken these into consideration as the areas in which we will classify as our high, our pullback, this is just a pause. Those are 1 hour, 1 candles. You need 2 candles. So I would just reconsider how you looked at the 4 hour. Other than that, the 1 hour time frame is bearish. So you were right about that. So it's actually 3v1 bullish on gold. How's it, Nick? How are you doing? I did send you a message on WhatsApp, Nick, so get back to me whenever. And I can also see, going back to the 4 hour here, guys, I can see why possibly, Stanley, you may have thought that this could have been the high, and then this could have been the 2 or more candle pullback, because here you have 3 obviously, and then we did get the candle close below that point. But the reason that this isn't the high is because if we mark the first high, which was created with a horizontal line, if I could select it, did we get a candle close below that? That area? No, we didn't. So this technically is an equal high because we didn't get a candle close above that. So if we had a candle close above this, then okay, this would then be the point which created the high because that's our ultimate high. But at this point, it's the same, it's all classified as the same. So what do? You take the first one. So if it's ever a 50-50 situation like that, guys, mark it out with a horizontal line. It's the same as your structural flip zones. We had it on GJ just now with the 4 hour. If you're not sure if this 4 hour candle has closed below the area which is going to flip structure, mark a horizontal line and zoom in. You can see here we have not had a candle close below that point, so we're still maintaining that bullish market structure on the 4 hour. Rather be precise and do that little bit extra than having a 50-50 guess or something like that. But I do understand completely, Stanley, why this one is quite a tricky situation where you have this high marked out, and it does look like this could then be classified as a new high, whereas you do always take into consideration the first one, especially if you haven't got a candle close above the wicks. So you always need to take into consideration the wicks. I'm going to do a full breakdown on GJ now for you guys. I'm quite interested in taking some GJ sells, especially to correct a lot of that move up. And I'll show you why I'm interested, especially based on the weekly time frame. So you can see, obviously, we have this strong bearish weekly candle, which is currently forming. We also had resistance formed on a previous level of weekly resistance. That was last week. Now this week, at the beginning of the week, we had a strong bullish push, and then we flipped the weekly candle bearish, and now we've actually broken last week's weekly candle low. Now when that last happened, but at the support level, you can see that this level right here, we respected a weekly support level, respected the low of the previous candle, and formed support on that support level. Then what ended up happening was we broke the previous weekly candle low, candle high, and we pushed up about 100, 200 pips. I did end up taking this buy and ended up holding it. It was actually quite a quick, strong move because of the news that impacted GJ at the time. But you can see how the overall move, if you had held this as a long-term hold, you could have got that whole move up just based on the clean candles to the left and those candle formations, such as respecting lows on the weekly time frame. And now we respect the high of this weekly candle as well as this, and we haven't respected the lows, indicating sellers' pressure is increasing, especially in the long term. So I'm quite interested in taking some sells below this level. I just need to see the lower time frames obviously correlate. We can't just base the sell on, okay, now we've broken it. We want to see some lower time frame correlation as well. So weekly time frame, it's looking pretty good for sells. Just need to see some confirmations. We are still bullish on the daily. Remember, we're probably going to maintain this bullish market structure on the daily for ages because we need to get all the way down here now to break that. Or we need to create a new high and then it will come at a higher level, because then this would be classified as our high as opposed to this. And then we'll look for the leg which created this high, which will come in this area most probably. That's just a prediction. But we're still bullish market structure. The only reason that I'm thinking at the moment we could have problems with coming down is we're currently sitting on a daily level of support. Now, we know how strong daily levels of support can be. We know how strong weekly levels of support can be. So it's not going to be very easy. We're going to need a lot of volume and probably candle setups. It may take a little while to get through this. Maybe some strong 4-hour candles or some strong 1-hour candles to break through the support level. If we can get a daily candle close below this level of support, there's no reason why if we then break today's daily candle, if today closes like this, and then we break the low of this candle, there's no reason why we shouldn't come down to this level over here, which is also a daily support level. So we do need to take that into consideration. Very important strong levels, daily support, daily resistance, and then obviously we have the clean daily candles, which once we drop down to the lower time frames is not going to be clean daily clean candles. It's obviously we're going to be able to locate some support levels in there, some resistance levels in there. But just looking on the higher time frames, the sells are making a lot of sense. We just need to get through this level. It's a daily support, guys. So be aware of that. Market structure bullish. So we have one weekly bearish, daily bullish. Then we chatted about this just now. The 4-hour is still bullish market structure, but if we get a candle close below this level, we're going to be bearish, and then that's going to give us an added confidence that, okay, there's a good chance that we can continue. We have also just had, if we mark out a support level here, this 4-hour support level. We've had a candle close below that support level. Now what I'm going to be waiting to see, and this is where I said I need to see the lower time frames correlate with the higher time frames. I need to see a break of this 4-hour candle low. What that's going to indicate to us with this current top wick that we've retested the support area and now we're ready to continue bearish. The only problem is on the 1 hour and 30-minute time frame, we have some support levels within here which is not providing us with that lower time frame clean candles. And that's a big issue because obviously we know 30-minute and 1 hour support levels hold pretty strong. So it's not just going to be clean, easy sells. So what might end up happening is it might be a little bit of a bumpy way down. And that does put a lot of people off. So what I would suggest if you are planning on taking a GJ sell for the long term, lower your lot size a lot, lower your risk a lot, because I don't think it's going to be as smooth sailing as what could be expected. But again, this is just based on what I think could happen long term. If you obviously are looking at some little small like scalp trades almost or intraday trades, I think that you're going to obviously have to look at what our zones are looking like on the lower time frames. So we obviously have our 30 minutes and 1 hour, which we like to look at. The market structure on the 30 minutes is currently bearish. And the reason for that is obviously this is our low. This is the point which created it. We will be bullish above this area over here. So on the 30 minute, we can start marking out some zones. I'd say this is a really important resistance area. And why is that? Because obviously if we break above there, we got clean candles to the left. It's also our structural flip. So if you get above this level, remember this is the point which created the low. If we get a candle close above this level, that will be our structural flip, giving us the 30-minute time frame being bullish in market structure. Why is that important? Because if we then close above this area, so not respecting this level of resistance, we also have the clean candles to the left, should be able to get up to this level. Should be able to. But also remember, to get up to that level, we have to go all the way to 156.044 from the current price that we're at now, which is obviously a strong push. That's going to be about 50 pips. So by the time we've got up to that level, you can obviously expect a little bit of exhaustion and then wait for that move up. So it's just looking at things like that. Exhaustion is very important, guys. It's something everyone needs to take into consideration. We can't just expect once you move up there just to carry on this strong push. We need to wait for some bearish candles to form. You know, it pauses exhaustion and then we can continue. So just please do be aware of that. If we're looking at sells below our current price, so what I normally do for that is if we can't see anything very recently, what I'll do is I'll mark the absolute low of where current price is. So that would be this area right here. We can mark it in orange as well. So that represents our lowest support, more or less, or our lowest wick. What we can then do is look left and see where does price intersect previous price. Oh, sorry, where does the support intersect previous price? So you can see we are on a level of previous 30-minute support. This is why we're rejecting the area. So there's always a technical reason for why we reject certain prices, and the reason why we rejected 155.409 is because it is a previous level of support. So what we now look for is, okay, where, if we break through that support level, are we going to have clean candles? So what I would do is shuffle this down. Obviously, again, guys, talk about that passive and aggressive marking. If we're going to be marking aggressively, we're going to put it halfway through the support level. If we're going to mark it passively, we're going to mark the wick as well. Because then what that shows us is only if we break through that, we'll have only clean candles. Whereas if we mark a little bit more aggressively, if we get a candle close below this level, then obviously we're going to have this wick over here to worry about possibly rejecting. So it just depends how comfortable and confident you feel. For the sake of this, I'm going to mark the low of the wick. So this is obviously passive marking. And then I think that if we break below that level, we can certainly head down to about 155, because this is sitting on a key level. So remember, guys, full numbers are always key levels. So I would say we can definitely get down to about 155. So I'll be looking for sells, continued sells below 155.313. Maybe a bit more aggressive if we get to New York. Because remember, guys, aggressive marking is a lot more effective when you're in a time of high volume. So I normally mark a little bit aggressively, London open and New York open, or pre-London and pre-New York. If there's a time of low volume, I would suggest waiting for the wicks to be cleared as well. So at the moment, it does look like if we drop down to 15, we'll probably be able to identify a little bit of a range, which is currently happening. I don't really like marking out on the 15, guys. It's pretty low confirmation time frame. No real point in taking it too seriously. Obviously you can get some correlation out of it, but it's not too important. You can see that's where our current range is forming. So what could start happening is we do start ranging and then get that overall move down. That'll be really nice to see. I do want to see, now that we've retested this previous level of support and turned it into resistance, well, I want to see us turn it into resistance. Then I believe if we correlate that with the 4-hour time frame, if I can get all this away, that would then result in the retest of this 4-hour support level. And on the low time frames, obviously now we're forming some resistance at these support levels. So that's your break and retest. And then if we break this 4-hour low, I certainly think that there is that very strong possibility of that bearish continuation. And I, at the moment, do obviously have that 2v2 market structure, guys. So definitely something to take into consideration. I feel like buys and sells are both pretty probable. What's also giving the buys a little bit of, giving me some confidence in the buys is obviously we're on this daily level of support, which I think is not to be taken too lightly. But then what's giving me the sell confidence is now we've had this 4-hour close below this 4-hour level of support, and now we're retesting the support level. So break and retest, and now if we break the low of this previous 4-hour candle, I think we should be good to go. Maybe down to, yeah, 155. I'd like to see 155 flat. So let's see. I'll get into gold as well. We have about 6 minutes until London open. I do understand why buys above this level would make a lot of sense, guys. Buys above this current level over here into all the clean candles to the left. You obviously have two time frames market structure on your side. It's just obviously I would rather wait for a strong candle close, a strong bullish candle. Doesn't look again like we're going to get that catalyst candle as our pre-London candle. I do talk about that quite a lot. I like to see the pre-London candle, even the pre-New York candle. What I like to see from them is either a strong bearish or a strong bullish candle form, basically known as a catalyst candle, so indicating what price could then do at the open. And then I do also like to see it close above or below a support or resistance level. Again, another indication. You need to be looking for small little hints of where price could be going. And then obviously the body size indicates is, okay, is the volume here? Like, has the volume arrived? We haven't had a catalyst candle in a long time. Yesterday's London open was pretty slow as well. It was up here. Yeah, here. So just got to play this one by how we see it. I will get into gold before London open as well. I think that's a good idea. Break it down from the weekly. We have had a few gold charts in already, so if you guys have been here from the beginning, you would have seen that. Do you only enter on candle closes or also impulse at break of candles? Just depending on the amount of, or what time of the day it is. So if it's a time of high volume, I think that impulse entries are quite likely to work out. But I'd much rather prefer waiting for a candle close and then break with the high or the low, whether you've closed above a resistance or below support. The confirmation in waiting for candle closes is so much higher. And I think if there's one thing, I said this yesterday, if there's one thing you guys should take into the new year to change about your trading, is try wait for candle closes only. Try take impulses out of your trading completely, because they do lead to a majority of unnecessary losses. Impulse entries come with a lot of experience, and you know, people with a lot of market experience are able to identify impulse entries quite easily. But again, they're just super risky, much less confirmation and much less probability. And trading is literally about confirmations and probability if you want to become or maximize your profitability for sure. So I would say be aware of impulse entries. I don't like to take a lot of impulse entries. You guys know that from the stream. I think I've taken 2 impulse entries on stream the whole time I've been streaming. Otherwise, I just wait for candle closes. So just something to take into consideration. Let's look at gold, guys. So today is Wednesday. So by this afternoon, we could have the weekly market structure as bearish. But for now, we're still going to take it by the previous weekly candle. So the previous weekly candle is still bullish, or closed bullish, meaning our market structure is still bullish, sorry. So if our market structure is bullish on the weekly, you can see we're still in this kind of range on the weekly. We're respecting a resistance level, and we've tapped into a support level and respected that and formed some support, but then we tapped into the resistance level and rejected straight from that, and at the moment we're just sitting in the middle. So it's going to be looking like a range on the lower time frames. You can see on the daily, we've seen that resistance level and we've seen that support level. So this is almost our daily range at the moment. So we are obviously waiting for a bit more of a decisive push from gold, whether it's going to be to the upside or to the downside. We need to wait and see, but there's still lots of trading opportunities on the lower time frames as well. Our market structure on the daily is also still bullish. This was a high point which created the high, haven't exceeded that. So everything here, if you base it on the daily time frame alone, is bullish, and that kind of is creating higher lows, higher highs. Obviously this is your ultimate high, so this would then be a lower high, but if you are creating lower highs, it doesn't really mean a lot if you're still creating the higher highs. So drop down to the 4 hour time frame, we can see that again, ranging on the 4 hour. This is a type of chart or the type of pair at the moment that you just don't want to get involved in. You want to wait for something more decisive. What we can do on the 4 hours, obviously mark out that resistance level and mark out that support level, and then once we drop down to the lower time frames, we can certainly get more of a gauge of where we're going. How are you doing, Trey? Hope you're doing well. From this, we can also identify market structure. We remember that this is our high. We always take into consideration the first one. If we haven't exceeded the wicks, this is a point then that created the high. This is our 2 candle pullback. We need to get a candle close below this level, and then we will be bearish in market structure. That also plays into having clean candles on the 4 hour to the left. So again, got to look at the bigger picture, all the things lining up. Like Sharif said yesterday, it's, you know, just puzzle pieces all coming together. So now we drop down to the 1 hour. This is where we can start getting some zones to trade in. As you can see here, this is our resistance zone, or sorry, our resistance area. If we break above that, we got some 1 hour clean candles to the left. Obviously, once we drop down to the 30-minute, we could see some more resistance areas to worry about, but I did look at it a little bit earlier, and it looks like some really clean trading range to the left. This is a wick on the 1 hour, but if we drop down to the 30-minute, this is going to be clean candles. So what we can see here is we got the clean candles to the left. You'd obviously adjust this zone so that it's to the bottom of the clean candles. Again, this is our resistance, our most relevant resistance and our most relevant support. We obviously just need to adjust that. And again, like I said earlier, guys, just now when we were looking at the weekly, it does look like we're going to be ranging on the lower time frames. The daily candles have also had very little volume, so just be aware of that. And in this situation, I would certainly be waiting for a close above 18.15 or a close below 18.10. I wouldn't really be too interested in trading this range. We know how trading ranges can be. It's not ideal. So easy buys, or what should be easy buys above 18.15, and what should be decently easy sells below 18.07. We have 20 seconds until until London Open. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Again, if you guys have any charts, please send them in. Now we've formed resistance on the 30-minute time frame, guys. Again, we look at the 4 hour. What I wanted to see on the 4 hour was, now that we close below this level, a retest of this support, and that's going to happen on the lower time frames. What that's going to mean is we now broke through lower time frame support. We wanted to see that support turn to resistance. We've just formed resistance on the 30-minute time frame. You can see here this candle has just formed resistance after tapping into this level of support. This is also the support which made up the 1 hour time, the 4 hour support. So we do need to be wary of that. So this could be your standard break and retest. But we also need to take into consideration that now we have a 1 hour candle close, which closed bullish. So we do want to see a break of these lows. I think that would be a pretty good entry based on the 4 hour as well. I'll be quite interested in taking those sells. Just want to see if we're going to get that volume for London Open. We've had terrible London Opens recently. All the moves have been coming in between London and New York, and also towards New York and end of New York. So London recently has been shocking. From Thursday, yeah, I should be doing some New York streams as well, guys, because I can't deal with this volume that we've had recently. Please also remember to leave a like on the stream, guys, if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't either. I would really appreciate that as well. So at the moment, probably waiting for a break of this level, and then if we get some nice volume, should be easy sells. Otherwise, it looks like what could end up happening is, because we made quite a strong push already, could get a bit of a retracement or a bit of a pullback, and then start making our way back down to the lows. I do believe now that we've broken the previous weekly low, we could see ourselves getting some bearish momentum. Obviously, the only problem right now is us sitting on this daily support level. This is not going to be an easy level to break through. We're going to need quite a lot of volume. You can see we're moving quite bullish at the moment. We also did have some pound news this morning, guys. All the numbers are in by now. I can just reload this. We had some pretty mixed data. We had the high impact news was positive, of course, which did cause a little bit of a bullish spike, but then the rest of it was mixed data. We had some positive and some negative news, and more or less that when that happens, it kind of balances itself out. So nothing too important happening there. If you guys are trading any of these pairs, we obviously have some more pound news coming in later, which I know when this Governor Bailey guy speaks, or when he's chatted in the past, he has said some pretty controversial things when it comes to the market, so you can expect possibly a bit of a move, but that's only, again, going to come in much later. Waiting to see what the 1 hour is up to as well. If we get some 1 hour resistance forming after retesting this level on the 1 hour, again, that's just going to play into that higher time frame confirmation of us possibly continuing bearish. But what we're going to need to see is this, obviously this candle flip bearish and close bearish, because that would be resistance forming. Once a candle is still open and bearish, guys, that is not resistance. The candle needs to close. What name do you go by on here? Well, the channel's King's Capital. My name is Piers. I should probably put that in the description. So yeah, guys, if you are trading anything by pure fundamentals, obviously be sure to take into consideration the severity of the news, or how high impact the news is, for sure. For the next couple of days, there's not a lot of pound news tomorrow. There's some very low impact. Sorry, just keeping an eye on GJ. There's some low impact pound news, but there's some high impact or medium impact US dollar news. And obviously the unemployment claims, we know historically, do move the markets quite a lot. It's not a red file, but it still is definitely not to be discarded, because unemployment claims definitely do make a difference. I would also take these forecasts with a pinch of salt, because I always talk about it. Forex Factory, I think they pull these numbers out of thin air. I've seen them be horrifically wrong before. So definitely don't look at the forecast as what could possibly, happen, because yeah, these guys, I don't know where they get their digits from. If you do want a better idea and you do want to trade it on pure fundamentals, what I would do is go and do some research about unemployment claims. Another way of looking at it is, I talk about it a lot, if you want to improve your fundamental trading skills, is find out, when you click on these files, you can get the previous actual numbers, and then if there was worse or better, and then you can go back to that time on the chart. So basically, like, you're back testing, see how much the price changed, or if it moved bullish or bearish based on the actual result, and then put that into an Excel sheet and just see, okay, historically, how did it move and how much should it move the market. That way you can also then have let's say you have like a journal or a book, and you can say, okay, when these news events come up, is it worth me actually trading them, or do they just hardly move the markets at all. And obviously we have our big ones like NFP, ADP, that sort of stuff, but it's small ones like, or not small ones, but lesser known ones like these orange folders, which can make huge moves in the markets, just people are less aware of them, obviously. Financial juice is a good source for market news. I should probably take a look at that. Yeah, amazing, amazing open, guys. Amazing. Couldn't be happier. Still ranging on gold. Not really interested in anything until we break above or below the marked out orange levels, those support and resistance levels. GJ is just a joke, to be honest with you. Actually, GJ is not a joke. London Open is a joke. Trying to see what this is looking like on the lower time frames as well. I mean, if that doesn't say enough, I don't know what will. Shocking. And this is like a majority of pre-London, you know, so the volume is just horrific. Don't be tempted into trading anything of this sort, guys. Honestly, it's all it's gonna do is put you in the washing machine. Wait for a candle close. At this point, I would be waiting. If we're going to be looking at coming back up towards these levels, I would honestly like to see a candle close above this resistance level, indicating that we're not respecting this resistance anymore, and that at some point we could then react at this zone and then end up coming back down. I will obviously be very interested in taking sells below this 155.416 level, because that's a break of the previous 4-hour low. Might actually be around there. And then I think that there's a very good chance that we can see that bearish momentum, because that'll also be the break and retest on the lower time frames. Printing barcodes, exactly. And when price prints barcodes, we want to stay far away. Got another chart in, or is this a possible trade in Telegram? Was this a good position? I was actually looking at this after it happened yesterday, because I think this was yesterday afternoon. On my price provider or liquidity provider, this was actually a weak bullish candle, which made this make even more sense. Because then what happened was we closed below that area. We had a weak bullish candle form, and then we broke that bullish candle. A great entry would have been at the low break of that weak bullish candle, because that's a break of support. It is also, I saw to the left, we did have clean candles. So this was actually a really good position. Stop loss above the current candle, which broke that low, that support level. I would have had my TP at the end of at the bottom of the clean candle. So at our next support. So if you did take this position, really, really good. We chatted about it. I think I did talk to someone about it in the Telegram group yesterday. It was, yeah, I think somewhere around here. But yeah, really, really nice entry. If you did take that trade, I was very sad that I didn't miss it. Quite annoyed, because really it was quite easy. Well, especially with my liquidity provider, I saw a weak bullish candle. When you see a candle close below support like that, the following candle closed weak bullish, indicating that buyers are certainly not back in the market like completely, and that sellers are still in charge of the market. Even if you don't get that strong wick up, what this wick up over here also indicated to us that this is a retest of the support area. So that's your retest. Again, break and retest. So if you drop down to the low time frames, that's going to be some support forming and some resistance, and then a break of the resistance. So yeah, if you did take that, very nice entry. Nice position for sure. again, guys, not much to do on GJ, which I think I've said every day this week so far at London Open, which is shocking. Gold was crazy about 18 hours ago. Yeah, that would have been most probably these two candles. This was yesterday afternoon for me. Just take a look at it on the 4 hour. What are the specs of your PC? I think I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. The RTX, I think it's 3060 or 3070, and i9. So I don't know which generation, i9, and then just some other stuff. It's pretty decent, I would say, but not amazing. It's quite dated now. Nice PC, thank you. Yeah, when I got it, I would say it was probably top of the range, but now I haven't upgraded in a long time. I think I got it September last year, so it's been a couple of months since I've changed anything. To be honest, I needed a lot of RAM, obviously, if I wanted to stream, and then the graphics card was a bit unnecessary, but you know, you can never go wrong with getting stuff which is going to last a long time. So that's what I kind of looked at it as. The next thing I will need to change is I do kind of want to get I don't know if the i9 is the latest one or if they have a new core processor, but I will probably need to upgrade that as it will sometime this year. Oh, and it's a MSI Z something motherboard. Not too sure the exact name of it. Again, guys, apologies, not that I can do much about this, but this is just how London Open has been over the past couple of days. Just absolutely shocking. You can see here we're ranging on the 5-minute. If you go to a 15-minute, we're also ranging, just printing barcodes. So not exactly much we can do about it, but I do feel like this is, again, indicating that maybe New York streams are calling my name as opposed to this crap. So yeah, but for anyone who is here who is new or is enjoying the stream, please do leave a like on the stream, and please do subscribe if you haven't already. I do stream every London session, also stream, well, I'm going to start streaming some of the New York sessions as well. So yeah, would be much appreciated. Also, if you are interested, join the free Telegram, link is in the description. Follow the Instagram as well, post all trading related stuff on there. Take a look if you want before as well. Yeah, just trying to grow the community as much as possible. If you guys are interested as well in how to mark out zones, yesterday's live stream had a full breakdown on how to mark out a zone from weekly down to 30 minutes. And I thought it was really in-depth. And I think some of you guys did enjoy it. And I hope that it was beneficial. If some of you guys want to go watch that back, I do highly recommend that. I think that it's some really good education there for sure. No problem, Nick. Yeah, matric isn't great, but you got to get it done. Yeah, matric is like grade 12, yeah, grade or 12th grade if you are from America, from the US. Final year of school. That's it. Gonna see what the candle does after London Open, because you know sometimes you get that delayed volume, so maybe we're not gonna get the the volume now, and then in the next half an hour candle we'll get something more concise. What is matric? Matric is, yeah, like 12, final year of school. So I think in the US that would be 12th grade. I don't know what grade they go up to there, or yeah, just final year of school. Final year of suffering. How's it, Pablo? How are you doing? Yeah, honestly, the younger you can start learning a skill like trading and doing it properly, the better. There's no reason, nowadays all the stuff there's so much, content out there, free education out there to learn a skill of some sort. So even if you don't decide to take up trading as a full-time occupation, you can always have that base understanding, that base knowledge of it. And then eventually one day you can get into it. Let's say you do it as long or along with your full-time job. I know a lot of people who do that. A couple of the members actually do that as well. They have full-time jobs and they trade on the side. So it's definitely a skill worth learning, but just make sure you learn how to do it properly from the beginning. To invest in ETFs. Or ETFs or NFTs? Because I think you're going to have to explain to me what an ETF is. Shares of companies, so basically stocks. I've recently bought quite a lot of Apple stocks. They are going to be long-term holds, so probably over the next 20 years. Stocks for me, you can never invest in stocks and expect quick return. So I invested in quite a lot of Apple stocks quite recently. Put a couple $100,000 or so in there. So hopefully, by the time I have a family, those have boomed. I don't see technology companies like Apple or anything like that having a major crash anytime soon. I think, to be honest, the way that the world's going, technology companies are certainly worthwhile investing, and they're always probably going to go up because people are always buying technology. They're always coming out with new products. So chucked a bunch of money into that. Other than that, yeah, I'm not so much of a long-term holder. I'm more of a the way that I trade, get the money and get my return of investments, and I'm out. How did you learn? The most valuable course I ever did, and the best mentor I ever had, I actually had two, was Roger Banks, obviously. Sorry, I've gone blank. Market fluidity. So the market fluidity course, probably one of the most in-depth courses available, and he obviously is a pioneer of the trading industry. He's one of the in my opinion, probably the best trader, definitely the best risk manager out there. Why I'm probably so into risk managing as well is just because listening to him talk about it every day and seeing how small his losses are compared to his wins really made me want to get to that level, and I think I have more or less got to that level of controlling my losses. And then the other course, or the other mentorship, when I first started trading, that I did was someone called Matt Todd. So his company is called Todd Capital Group, and he also has both these guys have YouTube channels as well, guys, and he used to stream as well. Raja still streams, that's Wix Don't Lie, and Matt Todd only does stuff with his members, but he used to stream all the time. So both, if you guys want to go and check out their stuff, They have some really, really good content. That is Todd Capital Group and Wix Don't Lie. Also two extremely, extremely realistic teachers, which is why I think I'm the same way about it. I tell anyone signing up for my course, or anyone who wants to do the mentorship through me, how trading actually is and the returns you're looking at. Definitely not one of these people telling you that you're going to be getting your dream car in a couple of weeks, because that just ain't how it is. And definitely not one of these people telling you how easy it is, because trading is very hard. Like I said yesterday, the hardest way to make easy money. If you're looking for easy money, there's much easier ways to make it. This is the hardest way to make easy money, but once you understand it, it becomes pretty interesting. Roger, yeah. Roger Banks. Wix Don't Lie. Apple's doing small pullback, it seems, for now. Yeah. It's probably... They always tend to do those big technology companies. They'll have like a nice push, have a bit of a pullback, and then like slowly, it's like they shuffle up type thing in value. But obviously, investing in any big company now, you're definitely not going to be getting these insane returns like if you had invested in them 20 years ago around there. But, you know, long-term holds, I always like to go for the safer option rather than a hit and miss and put hundreds of thousands into something which is a possibility to kind of blow up in the long run. So it just went for something pretty safe. Again, guys, this is... may as well chat about this stuff because there's nothing happening on GJ. Agreed with both mentors plus King's Capital now. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I definitely do want to be seen in the same light as both of those traders and the way that they conduct like their streams, trading, all that sort of stuff. That is a massive compliment, because two people that have been doing this for an extremely long time, and I respect them a lot. So I appreciate that. When I took Bitcoin seriously, knew quite a bit about it in 2010, just didn't think it'd be anything. Yeah, along with a couple of other people who felt the exact same way, you know. Especially, I had this one friend who wanted to invest in a mining computer way back in the day, probably talking also around 2010 or so, and he got a couple of friends together because he couldn't afford it. So he got a couple of friends together, and he said to them, look guys, there's this thing called Bitcoin, which all you need to do is get a good enough graphics card, have a good enough PC build, and we can slowly start mining it, and over time it's going to pay for itself, so pay for the PC build, and then we're going to have like profits afterwards. And he tried to convince his friends so much to put the money together to get that PC build, and they all said no. Like, they just couldn't see where Bitcoin could go, or how this thing, which basically doesn't exist, can make them money in the long run. So they didn't go ahead with it. And I mean, yeah, he told me about this about 2 years ago, and I can imagine how he must be crying. Or I can even imagine more so how the friends must be annoyed now, because if they had done that, they would have made a lot of money. A lot of money. Cousin has more than 60 Bitcoin. He got in at 2013. Very good man. A visionary. I would like to have 60 Bitcoin too. Family has a lot of Bitcoin. To be honest, that's like, to hear that the older generation as well got into this and believed in it is really like good to hear. So, you know, well done to, if it's your parents, or like you say, they're your cousin. It's really good. To be honest with you, I'm not really interested in like the next Bitcoin. Like, I'm definitely not one of those people chasing the next big thing. Obviously, there's NFTs and all that sort of stuff now, and everything's going to change with this metaverse stuff. I'm definitely looking at investing in the metaverse and diversifying the portfolio, not just with physical assets, but also with those digital assets as well. I do have a couple of NFTs, which I probably spent too much money on, but they have appreciated in value, which is, you know, pretty nice to see. So just gonna see how that goes. But yeah, definitely not chasing the next Bitcoin, because I know there are millions of people doing that. And again, it almost seems like a want to get rich quickly by finding this cheap coin which is gonna blow up. Good morning, Glenn. How you doing? Yeah, XRP, something that I've put a little bit of money into, and so is Ethereum. Not nearly as much though as I have with NFTs, and then obviously now recently with my recent investment in actual stocks. But that is again long term. To be fair though, the crypto investments that I made as well are also going to be long term. Not really interested short term in what those are going to be looking like for a very long time, unless after this XRP sort of hearing that they're having, whether that's going to change the value a lot. I mean, everyone's chucking their predictions of it's either going to boom or it's going to crash, so just wait and see, I suppose. I'm not too bothered if it goes to next to nothing, and also will be pretty happy if it goes up. Can you do analysis of pound AUD? Yeah, no stress. Gonna do a top-down analysis again, guys. So if you missed yesterday's one and don't want to go watch that back, I will be doing one right now. So get your pens and papers, and I'll show you guys exactly how to do a top-down analysis. I'll briefly include market structure. I won't go as in depth as yesterday, but let's see what we got here. So we're going to go down from the weekly to the 30-minute and show you guys exactly when I come to a chart what I look for every morning. So, you know, we base the weekly on the previous weekly candle until we get to a Wednesday afternoon. So at the moment, you can see weekly, we're bullish in market structure. You can also see that we have now closed above, or last week closed above this level of weekly resistance. What that indicates to us is, remember, weekly resistance and weekly support are very, very strong levels. So if we're not respecting those levels, there's a good chance that we will continue eventually in this direction if we break this weekly candle high. So what I would like to see is once we break this weekly candle high after creating this bottom wick, because again, remember that bottom wick on the lower time frame, such as the 4 hour, even the daily, could be us forming support. And what that is a break of resistance, form of support, so that's your retest, and then continuation. And entries can either come at the retest or after your break then of the previous weekly high, and that would then be to retest this resistance level. Because remember, if we break through resistance, what we aim to do is retest the previous level of resistance above that level. So if this is our marked out resistance level, where's the previous level of resistance above this level? That would be that up there. So that's what we would be looking for if we want to see continuation bullish. Obviously, we need to see some lower time frame support form, as well as the lower time frame market structure being in our favor, which we'll see if it is now. You can see we have now formed some daily support at this level. It is weak daily support, however, and we rejected a level of daily resistance. So that's obviously not ideal. You want to be seeing us closing above that level of daily resistance if we want to see the bullish continuation. What I would obviously do in this situation is then also identify what the daily market structure is. By looking at it, to be safe, I would say this is our low. This is the point which created the low. So we wait for a candle close above here. We got that. So this is now our high which we identified. This is the point which created the high. Now we got to close below that point. So now we were bearish in market structure. So if this is our low, we look for a 2 or more candle pullback. So this is then the 2 or more candle pullback. And now we have flipped structure one more time. So now we're bullish in market structure. So the daily is bullish in market structure. The weekly is also bullish in market structure. And if this is our high, we look for the point which created it, which is going to be here. 2 or more candles, remember? So you can see here, we take into consideration the first high, not the second one. You can see that and close above. So we look for 2 candles. That's 1 candle. That's 1 candle. Here's 2 or more. So there's 3 candles. I know, again, guys, that's going to look super, super complicated if you don't really know how to identify market structure, but that is how it is done. You can also see we have a level of daily resistance at the top here and a level of daily support which is formed over here. So we're going to be looking at somewhere in between these two areas to either take lower time frame trades or on the high time frames wait for us to break above or below those areas. Now we're going to drop down to 4-hour time frame, identify structure on the 4-hour time frame as well. So this is our high, point which created the high. We will only be bearish below this area. For now, we are bullish about structure on the 4-hour as well. So at the moment we have a 3v0. We obviously need to now adjust our zones because at the moment they're cutting through bodies. Just checking out GJ. I do like how GJ closed. Still waiting for this 1-hour resistance to form. I think once we form this 1-hour resistance, that bearish continuation is looking pretty nice. Dropping down to the 4-hour. Now we need to adjust our zones because remember at the moment we are now cutting through the bodies of the candles. We don't want to see that. What we want to do is mark the top of the resistance. So we'll shuffle that up. Support, again guys, if you want to mark aggressively, you will put it in the middle of the support, but once we drop down time frames, obviously this is going to have to be adjusted. But for now, what I'm going to do is just mark the bottom to be safe. And then why is this an important area of support? Because if we break through it, we've got clean candles to left down to this 1.88348 level. And now we need to look at our marked out resistance level. If we break above that, do we have clean candles to left? Yes, we do. Up until this level. Now, again, guys, this is on the 4-hour time frame. Once we drop down to a 30-minute time frame, within here, we are most likely going to find some levels of resistance. So now we need to, let me just take these drawings away. And at the moment, this is what I would be looking at. Buys above this level, sells below this level, and then obviously you could get your more aggressive trades within this current level over here. Within this 4-hour range, you can see how these 4-hour candles are printing is basically what we have on GJ, this stupid barcode, you know. So we're gonna, yeah, that is literally barcoding at its finest. So what I would do in this situation is obviously identify now the 30-minute structure, and this is where obviously it can chop and change a little bit more. But what I would say is this was our high, 2-candle pullback, bearish. Look for this area which created it. We haven't exceeded that, and we haven't really, oh, we did create a new low here actually. So this is actually our new low, and the point which created that low was all the way up here. So once we get above this level, then we'll be bullish in market structure. At the moment, we have 3v1 bullish market structure. So a candle close above this 1.899 area is going to make a lot of sense for that bullish continuation on all time frames. Why? That's going to be a break above that previous weekly candle high. It's going to be a break above the daily resistance which we formed. Structure is going to flip at that level to bullish, giving us a 4v0 bullish structure. We're also going to be out of this crap range which we have on the 4-hour and the 30-minute. So again, guys, we are looking at all the different pieces of the puzzle to put together to get these overall moves which we want to see. If you're looking for something more aggressive, obviously you need to then look at sells below this level, and the main thing to look at there is the clean candles to the left and the not respecting of this support level. You could adjust that a little bit down to that point over there to mark out the most relevant level of support. But I would say I would only be looking for buys on this pair unless we start getting some more structural flips. Just checking out GJ, just still terrible. Sorry, let me keep this zone marked in at the top here, because then we need to go see if we still have that clean candles to the left on the 30-minute time frame. Because remember, guys, if we have clean candles on the 4-hour, doesn't mean we're going to have the clean candles on the 30-minute. So what we need to go do is look at what do we have to the left here on the 30-minute. Looks like it's a pretty long time since we've been at this price point. Just got to try find. Okay. This is the last time over here. So you can see if we break above these resistance levels, or this is our most recent resistance level, if we break above it, I'd say our first issue is going to come over here at this level of resistance. And then from what you can start doing at this point is mark out new resistances and see, okay, if we break above those resistances, where can we then see us getting up until? So obviously if you get a 4-hour candle close above our original 4-hour level, then it's going to make a lot more sense to base your trade off of the 4-hour. But if we're going to base it off of the lower time frames, we need to take into consideration these 30-minute levels of resistance, because these are going to be strong levels that probably are going to hold unless we have a lot of volume. So very, very important to remember that. So again, I'll be looking for, if I was trading this pair, which I don't, I'll be looking for buys probably above this 89915 level and sells below the 1.88783 level. But what I would need to see is a break out of this consolidation, because I would not want to touch it while it's in here. If you're going to look for more aggressive buys, you can see here's a level of resistance. And if we break above that, do we have enough range? We have 24 pips of range. So more aggressive buys and earlier buys at a much better price than up here would come above here. And what do we look for when we look for our trading zones? Clean candles to the left. So we need to mark out our most relevant resistance or support, which are these areas at the moment. We're stuck in this range right now, but buys above this level would make a lot of sense. Why? Because we'd break out of this range and we have the overall market structure in our favor. We have a 3v1 at the moment, meaning that there's more buyers in the overall market than there are sellers, and the higher time frames will certainly tell you that. You can see. So if you're going to be looking for more aggressive buys, definitely be looking above 1.89468. I hope that helps out, Nick, if you were still here. When you say sells below that level, that's obviously assuming you've already bought, but which price have you bought at? No, so you don't have to buy to sell. When I say sells below that level, I mean the position that you would take would be a sell position. You don't buy first and then sell. When you take a sell below, let's say we're going to sell below this level, your selling price is literally going to be, let's say you take an impulse entry at the break of this level of support, your selling price is going to be 1.88785. That is your selling price. Your buying price, if you're going to buy above 1.89468, let's say you're going to take the impulse entry, as soon as it crosses that price line, that's going to be your buying price, or whatever, depending on spread as well, but whatever your liquidity, or sorry, your broker gives you. So it's definitely not a stupid question, because I understand what you're trying to say, but when you click sell on your broker, they are going to give you a price on your screen. You're going to see it, and that is the price that you're selling at. So yeah, just something to look at. GBP USD next TP 30 pips. Yeah, Alessandro. Hasn't it been like this though? For how long have I been speaking shit about London Open? London Open this year has just been the most tragic thing ever. Sign me up for New York. I'll see you guys there. Not today though, but Thursday and Friday I think. Tomorrow, yeah, possibly tomorrow and Friday. I think we're going to be doing some New York streams, because this is just ridiculous. Can you share your analysis on gold? No problem at all. I'm looking for buys above 1815.54. Why is that? Because we've got the clean candles to the left above that level, and there'll also be a breakout of this range. And I'm looking for sells below 1810. Again, clean candles to the left, breakout of the range. Obviously, what I'm looking for, guys, when I say I'm looking for potential sells or potential buys above or below level, what I want to see is not just price. If price crosses this level, which I have marked out, we don't just take an entry. What we need to then see is the candle confirmation. So what I want to see is a candle close above this level. And what does that indicate to us? That indicates that this level of resistance is not being respected. But once we get the candle close above that level, we don't just click buy. What we then look for is a retest of this zone on the following candle and a break of this candle high. Because what that indicates to us is that, okay, now that we've retested the zone on the lower time frames, our resistance has turned to support. That is something we see a lot when price wants to continue bullish. Same as the sells. We want to see a level of support turn into resistance on the lower time frames after candles close below this level, indicating that we're not respecting the support level. And when we close below support level, what we normally do is retest or test the previous level of support below that level. So if this is our support level, what is the previous level of support below that level? Well, that's right there. So that is what we're going to be looking for. And again, that doesn't mean that we're just going to do one straight move down. What we're going to do is obviously look for a couple of possible entries. Can you go over Tuesday's GJ trades? It didn't work out. Want to see how you manage risk. Thanks. Yeah, let me try, and I'll need to find them. Let me just go to this other liquidity provider and open a new tab. This one, because then it's not going to mess with the current chart. I was taking buys at this level over here. Let's see what we have. Just trying to find it. Was it maybe based on the 1 hour time frame? Yeah, right here. Okay, so basically what I was looking for, let's just go back a little bit, do a little bit of back testing here. What I was looking for, you could see that we're in this bullish market structure. We did have that overall bullish market structure. So what I look for in bullish or an uptrend basically, and I know from what most people are thinking is how can that be an uptrend? But obviously you guys know how we work out structure, and this was bullish in market structure. We can see we've made this strong push. And eventually we did get the overall move. It just took a lot longer than expected. What we were looking for was obviously, if we create a high, what we want to do is come down to a previous level of resistance, turn it into support, or come down to a previous level of support and form support on that level to then go up and retest the high. So as you can see, the next candle formed support at this previous level of resistance. So that's your break and retest, remember. So that's what you're expecting to basically happen. So what I do in this situation is I see, okay, we didn't quite respect the low of the previous candle, indicating that there still is obviously a bit of seller's pressure in the market. But what we did do was form some minor resistance within this 1 hour candle. So I expected that once we broke the high of this candle, we're going to retest this high. We also had a decent amount of range above this level. We had about 30 pips of range to take the entry. Or sorry, to cover basically after we've taken the entry. So my entry was more or less above this candle's high. And what I was expecting was for the next candle to literally wick down, respect the low of this candle, and then break the high of the previous candle, and that we would fill this. We obviously had the clean candles to the left, so I wasn't too concerned about having issues moving up. What ended up happening was the very next candle, we did exactly that. So at this stage, I was in. My position had been triggered. I had a buy stop set there. Price went up about 9 or so pips. It says 10, but obviously with the way brokers work and with the way spread works, I didn't get the exact entry, which is going to say here. I obviously got slipped a couple of, I think my spread at the time was about half a pip or a pip. So didn't get the entry. Oh, so didn't get the exact entry, but got this entry over here. So maybe a little bit higher. So price was moving nicely. This is exactly how I was expecting price to move, that we'd break the high and continue and retest the high that we had formed. What then ended up happening was at this stage, now I need to realize, okay, we've moved up so much. If price comes back down to my entry, I'm going to close half of my position. So that would be at this point over here. We can mark it out in white. Then what I also need to realize is, okay, now I need to drop down to the lower time frames to understand, okay, where can I now manage my trade based on the lower time frames? What do I want to see candles doing? And what I always want to see candles doing if I'm in a buy is respecting previous 15-minute or 30-minute candle lows. I don't want to see candles breaking lows. That's not what you want to see. So what I can do is, within my stop loss, mark out the lows of 15 or 30-minute candles. And so what that's going to look like is something like this. And by this stage, obviously my stop loss, the technical level for it was going to be above this 30-minute, below this 30-minute candle low. So I'd already had one spot to manage my risk on, which was that 15-minute candle low. And then I also had an area to manage my 30-minute, which was going to be at this point over here. So where it would flip. So at these stages, I would be closing partials of my position or half of my position. So when we come down to entry, when we break that 15-minute candle low, the first one that's in our stop loss, and when we come below this 156.357 level. And then the remaining position, I'll most probably just leave to see how that does. So as you can see, we'll let it run on the 15-minute. The very next 15-minute literally did all of that in one 15-minute candle. So I closed half of my position at entry, which was over here. Then the next half at this point over here, once we had broken that 15-minute candle low, because by breaking 15-minute candle lows, we're indicating that there's a very good chance that we're not going to continue in the bullish direction. And then again, closed another half there, and then eventually just let the position come back down. But then what you're going to notice here was a lot of people in these sort of situations end up holding positions. We eventually got the move that we wanted to get. But that's never an excuse to say, I think price will eventually come back in my direction, to hold a trade. If a trade doesn't work out for you in the amount of time that you're used to a trade working out, so for me, a trade normally works out in 20 minutes. I'm not going to hold it and hold a massive drawdown. I'd rather manage my risk, lose less than what I'd expected to. So in this trade, my stop loss was about 10 pips. I think I was risking about 1,500 pounds, around there or so. I only ended up losing 300 by managing risk, closing half of positions, not seeing candles form on the lower time frames how I wanted them to form, and then that allowed me to minimize my risk. Because what this is going to do is when we do get our setups, which we like to see. So now let's say we got this exact setup, and what price ended up doing was once we got our entry point, and so once we took our entry over here and we got our move which we wanted, what then is going to happen is that's going to be a full win. We're not going to be managing that. Of course, we're going to be securing partials as price comes up to our securing points, but that's going to be a full win, a maximized profit win. Whereas our losses are going to be managed, so micromanaged and managed so well that they're going to be a third, sometimes even a fourth of the size of our wins. And that's where risk management comes into play. GJ is still messing around. See how this 1 hour candle closes. So what I would suggest for risk management, guys, is use the much lower time frames. Use the 15-minute time frame, use the 5-minute time frame, and look for where candles are going to flip bearish. So now let's say this candle had moved this much. If we now come back down to our entry, there's a reason why we're rejecting this area. So it's probably going to be a resistance on a minor time frame. So I hope that does help, Sharif. I'll also try and get the other one done. I do want to make a YouTube video on it, a full YouTube video, and then I'll post that as well. Why did you wait for 1 hour support? We were back here. I think at the time the 30-minute didn't. I need to go find that again. Oh, the way that the 30-minute closed was a very weak bullish candle. So you can see here. Is this? Oh no, sorry. That's yeah. So if we look here, this support which formed was not strong enough support. So for me, I don't classify that as strong support. I see that as a doji bullish candle, which doesn't indicate to me that this is a very strong support level. So what obviously I wanted to see was a strong support form, and that's what we kind of got in the 1 hour. The 1 hour was a much stronger bullish candle. Obviously, it was much stronger than the 30-minute. And again, 1 hour support is much stronger than 30-minute support. Yeah, so I would have caught the 10 pips on the 30-minute time frame, but again, it just didn't play out to how I wanted to see it. Of course, it would have worked out for sure, but that's not how I look at it. So the way that I looked at it, I didn't want to skip out on how I do my checks when it comes to taking trades. And I was confident enough to, if the move happened on the 30-minute time frame and I missed it, so be it, you know. I definitely wasn't going to be cross about it or have FOMO about it, but what I wanted to see wasn't showing. So I always wait for what I want to see. Coming up on gold as well. 9 minutes to candle close. Got about, I'm going to wait and see how this candle closes, guys. Again, please leave a like on the stream if you haven't already, and subscribe if you aren't subscribed. I would appreciate that greatly. We just did a little quick risk management breakdown on how to manage your risk probably the most important aspect when it comes to maximizing profits or becoming a long-term profitable trader, being able to keep those losses really small. If you can even set out to lose if you've set out to lose 1,000, so if your stop loss is allowing you to lose 1,000 of whatever your currency is, make sure even if you lose 700, you've done a good job. You've managed risk, because then what's going to end up happening is you're slowly going to get the hang of it. You're slowly going to start losing less and less and less, and you're going to get to a point where you start realizing, wow, I can actually lose way more than what I win. I can have a win percentage of, let's say, 40 or 50%, but my wins are 4 times the size of my losses. So I'm still end up being a very profitable trader because you know how to manage risk. I never ever get nervous going into a trade because I know I'll be able to manage risk. And that's a confidence you need to start building up, or that's how you need to start getting used to it. You need to start realizing that, okay, no matter what happens, if this goes wrong, I will not lose how much I've set out to lose. And that is, you know, as good as it gets. Coming up quite nicely on gold here. So again, I am probably wanting to wait for a bit of a candle close, especially if we get a candle close above this 18-16 level. That's going to be great. I do see then if we pop back down, retest this area, and then break the high of the previous candle, we've got the clean candles to the left. So I'm certainly thinking that we could see some bullish continuation. What could also end up happening, guys, which you need to be really careful of, is if we do get a candle close above this level, then we could end up getting a bit of a fake out to back into the range, and then see what happens. Then we could come back down to the bottom of the range and continue ranging until we get a much stronger move. What's your say on USD CAD? Let me check it out for you. I haven't, or I don't trade USD CAD, but I will certainly be able to do a bit of a breakdown. There's also a bit of Canadian news. Yeah. Well, there's US dollar news today. Low impact CAD news. So just be aware of that. USD CAD, USD CAD. Weekly, obviously we closed below that week support, which was formed on the weekly. Last week was a very bearish weekly candle. So I would definitely say market structure based on the weekly is bearish. If we look at the daily, we're currently on the level of daily support. And there's level of daily resistance, which was also formed recently. We haven't really retested this zone properly, but what could end up happening is we range a little bit, tap up there, and then continue bearish. Or what's just going to happen is we're going to continue this very strong bearish structure and continue bearish. This was our high which we had created. This was the point which created the high. So we did have bullish market structure. Now we have bearish market structure. This is our low, and this is a point. This is more or less a swing. So I'd say that's more or less a point which created low. Otherwise, if you're going to play it purely by the rules, this is a point which created the low, and we'll only be bullish above this level. So we're definitely bearish in market structure on the weekly and the daily. What I'll be looking for now is some support and resistance to mark out from the 4 hour and probably below. And where do we have our clean candles? So obviously we have this resistance level, this support level, our most relevant support level, I would say, on the 4 hour, and then we have this resistance level. So more or less forming a bit of a range on the 4 hour, and then you got the clean candles to the left on the 4 hour if we look above this resistance level, and if we look below the support level, we also got 4 hour clean candles. So now what you need to do is drop down to the lower time frames. Structure on the 4 hour is also bearish as well. This was your low point which created the low. We will only be bullish above here. So at the moment we have a 3v0 bearish market structure. So you can see why sells have been playing out so nicely, especially over the past couple of days. It's been pretty much going with the overall trend. Then we're going to drop down to a 30 minute. Another pair which doesn't look too great on the 30 minutes. Let's see GJ. Yeah, GJ is coming up pretty nicely. Gold as well, trying to pop up. And on the 30 minute, obviously this is where you're going to find your smaller, less or not such big zones that you're going to have obviously on the 4 hour, but you're going to find some more aggressive areas to enter into. So obviously we got your clean candles to the left above this area. And then if we look to the downside, I see some pretty bad price action. So what you're going to have to wait for is either, if you want to play it safe, a break below 1.24561, which obviously plays into your higher time frame support levels. And if you want to be a bit more aggressive, you're going to have to try find something with clean candles to the left. I'm not seeing a lot here, maybe earlier sells below this level, but then your range that you're trading into is, yeah, I suppose 15, 16 pips. So sells below this level could also make a lot of sense. Not too interested in trading in situations like this. This is very choppy price action. So rather wait for the clean candles and a clear break of support and resistance. Super important. Then obviously what you're going to do with your 4 hour zones is on the 4 hour, we had clean candles to the left. You can see we clearly don't have that at the moment. So you're going to need to adjust that so that we do have clean candles to the left. And that's only going to come above 1.2583. So that is a lot higher up than where price currently is now. But if you were to get a higher time frame candle close above that level, it would make a lot of sense. That would also be a break out of this 4 hour range which we have. So this would be the lowest point where you're going to break out of the 4 hour range. But you can see on the lower time frames, that's not clean candles. So what you had to do on the lower time frames is shift that up a little bit. So I have an overall bearish market structure on USD CAD, but you do need to be careful of all the different time frames. But it based on market structure, it makes sense why it's been so bearish recently. Also, if you were going to break the previous weekly low, it's going to be a very strong possibility that I think the overall move is to retest this level of weekly support. Because now we've broken this level of weekly support, close below it. If we now break the previous weekly low, we should be able to come down to this area over here. Based on the daily as well, obviously we have now formed some form of daily support over here. But if we can break that, I think we can then retest maybe 1.240. Just got to see how the candles form. GJ is trying, gold is trying. We have about a minute and a half here. Probably stay on a little bit longer today, guys, because it looks like we could have some possibilities depending on how these candles close and the following candles as well. So stop the cap. I hope that that helped out a little bit. Again, guys, I don't trade that pair, so I'm not too familiar with it, but how price action works, market structure, it's the same on absolutely everything. So once you can do it on one pair, you can certainly analyze any pair under the sun. Straight rejection from gold. Again, guys, if you are thinking of taking an impulse entry, please try to stay away from that. Impulse entry would obviously come above this level once you cleared the wicks. But again, your stop loss for the technical level for your stop loss is always below the current candle that you're entering on. And your stop loss at this point would have been about 30 pips. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about stop loss levels and what you feel comfortable with. But for me, I don't like to see a stop loss basically above 15, 16 pips. So again, that's what impulses kind of force people into, is having these massive stop losses, which just never help anyone if things start going wrong, especially if you don't know how to manage risk. $15 seconds, gold, again, to come straight back into the range, so definitely no confirmations for anything on gold, definitely no buys. GJ is also rejecting this area, so we're not getting a very strong candle close on GJ. Based on the 1 hour, we've broken now this 1 hour, so yeah, it's not ideal. I think again, guys, New York could be, or maybe the session in between London and New York, or just pre-New York, could provide us with a move. But at the moment, there's nothing telling me now or indicating to me that there's a strong confirmation that we're going to move up or down. Obviously, at this point, we have closed above, or had a body close above. It's the highest closing body we've had in this range, basically. So that could indicate that the resistance level will not hold. But what we're going to have to see, or how I trade, I want to see a break of this candle high. Now, if we're going to see a break of that candle high to enter, price is going to have moved 6 pips already. So that's 6 pips that I'm missing out on. So do I really want to take that risk of having price move 6 pips and then still possibly rejecting before I get my 10 pips? Not really. It's also really important, guys, again, if I can basically advise one thing, is you want to let the markets produce what you want to see. I know a lot of people get tempted into taking moves and they wanna make a lot of money and that sort of thing. But you want to see, similar to what Alessandro said to me earlier, he said if you took that trade on the 30-minute time frame, you would have caught 10 pips. But for me, I didn't see what I wanted to see on the 30-minute time frame. So why was I going to take that trade? That would be me getting FOMO and taking a trade. Maybe for him, he saw what he wanted to see, which is fine, you know. Some people are more aggressive than others when it comes to trading. But that didn't produce what I wanted to see. Therefore, I'm not going to be willing to take the trade. You need to be that disciplined where you can let a move happen and you don't get any FOMO or worried about anything, you know. Other people are making money, you're not making money. Because that's the worst type of greed you can get, you know. Getting worried that other people are making money and you're not. And then you end up hopping into trades. Probably happened to a lot of people just now on gold, you know. Some people probably would have been hopping into positions at the break of the high because they're so worried that they're not going to get a move. Instead of waiting for the candle close, look at what it would have saved you. At this point, you would have, if you got in, let's say at the break of this week, you would be down currently about 12 pips. Just because of wanting to take a trade. Rather wait for the confirmations, wait for the charts to print what you want to see. But I think on that, guys, I've done a lot of talking today. GJ, obviously, it does look like it's coming up a little bit, but I think that I'm going to call it a day for the stream. I definitely will be trading this afternoon, though. I'll be trading probably in between sessions as well. So I do believe that we can get a nice move. Obviously, going to keep an eye out for GJ. At the moment, it is breaking that candle high, but I don't think I'm too interested in taking it. I don't mind waiting a little bit. It's been a pretty decent month so far, so definitely no rush to take anything I don't want to take. And I appreciate everyone supporting the stream. If you are in GJ, just remember, guys, technical level for your stop loss is going to be below the current candle, and then you probably want to see it correcting some of this move down. And yeah, I do appreciate all the support, and thank you for everyone who watched it. Before we go, guys, if you can leave a like on the stream, again, guys, that would help a lot. And I'll see you all tomorrow, same time. So yeah, I do appreciate it, guys, and have a great rest of your day. Trade safely, and remember the words, guys. Wait for the markets to print what you want. So yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Cheers.